Egoscue help with forward head posture. So Matt, how do you usually address this question with clients when it comes up?
For sure. Yeah, we see a lot of it. I have a client who refers to it as his eye hump because he's like constantly on the iPhone or Mac computer or whatever have you tech device that it's on Zoom for a lot of us nowadays, online classes for kids. And one of the big things that we see that impacts it is upper back positioning and mobility and actually hip and pelvis alignment. So the head and shoulder misalignment too, along with that. So the head sits on this platform, so if we are in this box of computer work or driving or, writing or everything we do actually is in this box here. If these muscles do all the work all day, the body's going to utilize them and not prioritize using the backside muscles because they're just not getting used. Mm-hmm. So then the shoulders go forward, upper back goes forward. And as the platform goes forward, then the head just follows suit. So yeah, a lot of what we help people with is strengthening the muscles of the upper back and the shoulders to pull the shoulders more upright, pull the upper back more upright, and then help the head follow suit. And talking about like platforms, the hip and pelvis is the platform for the upper body. So if that is deviated into like a forward tilt, most commonly what we see in the clinic called an anterior tilt, because the front of the hips are tight, that's going to throw everything else forward too, from the upper body on. So it's a few different factors that we see that feed into it and a few different ways that we can address it for people. And that's why meeting our clientele, either virtually or in clinic, we can customize custom tailor the set of exercises specific to what's leading to their forward head.
Yeah, exactly. Elisa, what would you add on to that?
I think Matt hit it like really well. And I would just add that something to keep in mind is like your patterns during the day, your activity patterns or lack of activity. Like we're talking about working from home and sitting on a computer a lot more. I know we all use our computers way more than we used to a year ago.
Yes,
and right. But just like after doing your menu exercise consistently be really important. But if you have an 8-hour or even some people have 10, 12-hour work days, if you have these long bouts of inactivity, if you take 5 minutes, which I think everyone can, 5 minutes to break that up, then you'll get even more changes and more sustainable, I think, than if you still sat those 10 hours a day and then 15 minutes or 30 minutes of exercise one day. That's going to be better than nothing. But if you can break up your inactivity, that'll be better. And I have a client that asked me kind of relative to this position. He just wasn't even sure what the proper position felt like. Yeah. He was like, how, like we look at your pictures and we're like, okay, your head's forward, your shoulders are rounded, one hip's higher than the other. And he sees all those things and it makes sense to him. But then he's like, but what does the proper position feel like? I don't understand. Like, what am I supposed to feel? And so what we did, we used one of our exercises standing against the wall. We used that just as a test and measure for progress and an exercise. So I gave that to him a couple of weeks ago. And he said ever since then, he could really sense like how he can improve it, because now he has a gauge of like where he is to where he needs to be. So if that's something that you're curious about for anyone watching, if you stand with your back against the wall and it's difficult to get your head to touch the wall, there's probably some issues going on below, like Matt was talking about, the shoulders or the hips. A lot of people might get stuck with their head not touching, and then they just end up kind of cranking back at the neck to try to get there. That's not the proper way to get the head to the wall either. That's just you compensating. But that's a great way to kind of see where you are and where you can improve as well.
Such a great test too, because like talking about like platforms too, like the hip sits on top of the knee and the knee sits on top of the ankle too. So like if you force your head back and you feel like your butt come off the wall or your hips come off the wall, or you feel like your heels lift off the floor, it tells you that these areas that come off the wall are compensating for this. So those need to be addressed first, oftentimes, before you can even work on getting the head and upper back on the wall, or else you can do that till the cows come home. But if these areas just help you cheat out of that, then you're not really getting that true alignment that you're looking for. So it is a great test.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good at-home test. And then when people are either doing their sessions virtually or when they're coming in the clinic, this is a big reason why we take the 2 side views. So we don't just do front and back. We'll also do the right and left side so we can see how each side compares. But it does give us a good view of how the shoulders, the hips, the knees, and the ankles are actually stacking up. So a lot of times I find that I've had clients who have called because like I walked by a window and I noticed how rounded my back was. Yeah. And when they come in and they actually see where their hips are sitting, they'll kind of see like the hips are sucked forward. And to balance that out, the upper back goes behind the hips, but then to balance that out, the head comes forward. So you kind of have this reverse posture alignment. And sometimes when clients can actually see that, it goes, oh, that's where I'm so uncomfortable. So I think that's a great test. And then for people who are visual, if you even just take a side shot of yourself, and if you can see that, you know, there is probably excessive rounding in the thoracic spine, but a lot of times we'll see that comes as a result of the hips being underworked, and therefore they start to overly extend. So you'll start to see, I think the term is no butt tease is another one. So they kind of see their butt shrinking. Usually it's because it's just going into this really extended position. And then everything shuts down. And then just to make sure you're balanced out, one goes back, one goes forward up top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So always a fun one to see it. It's always a cool one to see when clients start to change. It's like, oh, today you're actually like lined up, which is great.
Yeah. I think just one more thought on that too, like just how that affects like the forward head. We have a lot of clients, once their head realigns, to feel more energetic, and like brain fog goes away because you're getting your head from here to here. So you're opening up the passageway for the arteries to bring blood into your brain. So it's it can be very like energizing or Zen, like most people have described it, you know, when the brain is actually getting proper blood flow. Whereas if the head is forward, these muscles get tight and they can restrict the blood flow to the brain, which is starving it of oxygen, which it uses for fuel. So it's pretty cool just how that feels for people too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're also going to start to breathe a little bit better as well.
100%.
So you get better blood flow and you get better air intake as well, which is really helpful.
It is. Chronic sinus congestion, right? Sinuses will drain everything. A lot of it's connected to that.
Yeah, very, very